Ash when I catch him, I bend him like Beckham. Yeah, that's my little baby, my boo. Classes in session, I'm not one for testing. Confession, I dropped out of school.
Hey guys, it's Brain here, and today we're going to talk about the Travis Scott incident that happened on November 5th. Now, you may be asking, what happened on that day? Well, it was a tragedy in which 8 people were pronounced dead during the concert, and the ninth victim was pronounced brain dead on November 10th. Now, during the time of this recording, an additional victim has been claimed. My condolences go out to the family of the people who died in the event and got hurt during it. On that day, about 50,000 people were attending the concert, which turned out to be among one of the most dangerous concerts in history. On that date, a lot of things that happened that went wrong, whether it was negligence from security, rioting fans, and even the negligence of Travis Scott himself, caused issues in which people had reportedly been passing out due to the concert being so squished together, people causing chaos, and people passing. This event was so tragic, it felt as if the apocalypse itself came upon us. Currently, what we do know was that the event was so chaotic that the people didn't know it was going to be this bad. The events in the beginning, according to some footage by fans, had shown that the people were already getting chaotic and hectic before the concert even started. When the chaos really started was when Travis Scott himself started playing. When he was up on stage, people started writing and doing things that were extremely dangerous even for the concert standards. And it only got worse and worse, according to Madeline Eskin, who was an ICU nurse at the festival. Now, you're wondering if the event is so dangerous, why didn't people just get out of the concert? And that's the problem. So much chaos was going on, the concertgoers couldn't really escape the packed crowds, and many people were passing. Authorities claimed that this venue was safe according to the city fire code, which said that the venue was capable of holding 200,000 people, but the authority is limited to one-fourth of that. Officials said that the safety precautions have been taken quote unquote. That is where the problem comes in. The authorities said that they had everything under control and it was safe. Yet 9 people died in that day and many more injured as well. Honestly, some of the most baffling things that you could ever think about in modern day, the worst to date, and it is the 11th most fatal accident in history. Honestly, some of the scariest things to be seen in modern day. There is more than enough footage to show what people in the concert were experiencing, and you can find this on Instagram and Twitter if you search at the hashtag Astroworld. Honestly, some of the most terrifying things to think about, knowing that people were in danger and no one put a stop to this. Not even Travis Scott himself did little to nothing to stop the rioting crowds. There is even a really famous clip of Travis Scott calling security's attention to a person who had passed out during the concert, so there was no way Travis Scott wouldn't have noticed people passing out in the crowd, in which he told security to help that man and then proceeded to dance while they were carrying the body away. People were begging him to stop, and in some footages, paramedics couldn't get the people in time due to the fans blocking their path. One of the biggest events that happened during this whole ordeal was there was a mass drugging incident where crowd members and even one security guard were getting injected with drugs. There's a narrative going around that one person was the cause behind all this, where he was injecting random people with drugs, but nothing has been said for sure because of the fact that this concert just fell apart. It was so chaotic that the only problem is that there are so many inconsistencies among many stories. Therefore, there is no direct conclusion over this mass drugging incident that happened. Therefore, take it with a grain of salt. But now, let's look at the people who are in charge of the events. Why didn't they stop? The problems, according to law enforcement, started around 9:30 p.m., where people were passing out, and even then, the concert still kept going 40 minutes after this incident. Law enforcement, paramedics, and firefighters were begging officials to stop this concert. And you're wondering if Travis Scott has just stopped singing and helped the people out. But sadly, what he did was keep the show going even when things were going crazy. Travis Scott seemed to be aware of the situation, but made no effort to put a stop to any of this. Travis Scott was more or less aware of what was going on, but seems to be paying little to no attention to it. Stephanie Rawlings Blake, Scott's spokesperson, told CBS Morning that the notion that he could have stopped the concert is, of course, ludicrous. She also goes on to claim that Travis Scott was not responsible for this incident, but he wanted to be responsible for the solution. This is rather mind-boggling because from the looks of things, he didn't care to check up on his fans, and even though people were actually screaming in pain and others were on the floor passed out. Rawlings Blake later goes on to claim that Travis didn't realize the festival had descended into a deadly tragedy and attended an after-party at Dave's and Buster's where they tried to regroup. He later found out what had transpired. Another question that people have asked was were there any signs of crowd problems prior to the incident? According to a statement from Chief of Houston Police, Troy Finner said that he had visited personally with Travis Scott before the concert started. Expressing concerns for the crowd, he said, I expressed my concerns regarding the public safety that in my 31 years of law enforcement experience I have never seen a time with more challenges facing citizens of all ages to include a global pandemic and social tension throughout the nation. Many more people had noticed that there was an aggressive crowd environment throughout the whole day before the concert had even started, and the atmosphere was starting to worsen. People started pushing each other and hurrying towards the stage. Travis Scott fortunately had nothing happen to him, but from the looks of things, Travis has a history of having hectic crowds in which people get injured, so this isn't his first rodeo. Later on, he would make an apology on social media in which he apologized to everyone about the event that he would later go on to say that his fans meant everything to him. This in all reality felt rather fake based on the fact that he showed no emotion and to be honest, he probably didn't care too much in all honesty. This apology was met with a lot of criticism from fans, people who attended the concert, and celebrities, and even social media was quick to bash his apology video because people saw it as something that was completely faked. Now, will Travis Scott be facing any legal repercussions for what had transpired that day? According to an article from TMZ, they go on to explain that both Travis Scott and Live Nation have lawsuits piling up against them, where several attorneys have been filing lawsuits. Even Ben Crump, a famed attorney, will be representing victims from the internet. Its lawsuit claims that both Travis and Live Nation failed to provide proper safety for everyone in attendance, and because of that, some people had been injured due to stampeding crowds and crude compression that led to many injuries. One question that I have personally about this incident would be, was this a one-time incident or is this a recurring problem? According to the article, Travis Scott's antics have no limits. He has had separate instances where he has done some things that are insane. You wouldn't believe it happened unless there was video evidence, which in this case I have two.
You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience.
The shocking Travis Scott video shows the rapper spitting at a fan and then telling the crowd to F up the concert goer.
Get that motherfucker, get him. You tried to take my shoe? You want to be a thief? Fuck him up, fuck him up, fuck him up. Fuck him up, fuck him up, fuck him up.
You know, my fans really mean the world to me.
Boo, boo, boo. Fuck his ass up.
You know, my fans really mean the world to me, and I always just really want to leave them with a positive experience.
Fuck him up, fuck him up, fuck him up.
The first of his most infamous incidents happened in Open Air Frauenfeld Festival in Switzerland in 2015. Travis Scott had his shoe stolen by a fan. Travis decided to get his shoe back, but that wasn't all he did. What he ended up doing is telling his fans to, and I quote, fuck him up. He threw something at him. To be honest, I can't really tell based on the video what it is he threw, but nonetheless, he spat on the fan, and later the fan that was called out by Travis Scott had his ass beat. In addition to that, at Lollapalooza in Chicago the same year, he started a riot and law enforcement ended up shutting it down. In this instant, festival goers rushed the stage chanting, "We want rage! We want rage!" Then the rapper also told the crowd, "Let's go! Come over! I want chaos!" The funny thing is that Travis fled the scene but was taken into custody and later on charged with disorderly conduct for instigating it right at Lollapalooza. In another article, he was showing pictures of fans of injuries of all kinds, so this is a rather strange occurrence, where not only has Travis Scott not taken accountability for his actions in prior years, why would he apologize now? Let alone, why would he even bring attention to it if it is not unless he was forced to? One thing to notice is that Travis's environment is rather reckless and extremely dangerous for those who attend. He has a history of promoting insane concerts or people's rage, and not only does he call it up, but he also glorified it in posts and captions as well, which you can find them on Instagram. My final thoughts on the Travis Scott incident is there was no other way to describe it but a tragedy. Although this could have simply been avoided if Travis Scott and company take certain precautions to prevent such a tragedy from recurring, Travis Scott could have simply stopped the concert at any moment, but instead he chose to keep performing instead of checking on his fans' well-being. In addition to that, Travis Scott should have increased overall security and oversight of the concert in order for it to be safe and enjoyable for his respective audience. History repeats itself in many ways, and what I mean by that is Travis Scott has had a track record of reckless behavior and encouraging his fans to commit dangerous acts, like beating up a fellow audience member and encouraging a fan to jump off a balcony. Travis's history seems to show that he has yet to learn a true lesson in taking responsibility and accountability, as well as facing consequences for his actions. Personally, I enjoy some of Travis's music, yet as I am recording this, my views have drastically been altered in how I view Travis Scott's image as well. My initial views of Travis were relatively somewhat positive, although with recent news of the incident, it has made me realize that Travis Scott is simply another celebrity who has a narcissistic and egocentric personality who seems to be under the notion that he can simply get away with horrendous and reckless behavior simply due to the fact that he has a big influence, fans who adore him, and a decent public image. Once again, my thoughts and prayers go out to the families and individuals who have lost a loved one during this tragedy of a concert. This is Brain giving you a safe performance, unlike Mr. Sicko Mode. If you liked today's video, please give it a like, and if you're new, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.
I'm that motherfucking captain. I'll be snapping like a bitch. I want pennies for my thoughts until I'm motherfucking rich. Had that Nelly country grandma, used to bump that Ludacris.